Hello, everyone. We'll just wait a minute or so for everyone to tune in and get settled. All right. Hello, and welcome to this Plant 3D demonstration. My name is Leandro, and I'll be showing you how Plant 3D integrates with the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So I hope you find this session informative and useful. So today for our agenda, I will just briefly go over the benefits of ACC or BIM 360, and then we'll go through setting up an ACC project, and then we're going to upload a Plant 3D project to the cloud. And then I'll show you how to access that project from Plant 3D. And then we'll go through a Plant 3D workflow of how to open those files, and then we'll go over some of the revision tools. So this presentation will be a mix of PowerPoint slides, which is very brief, and then we'll go through a live portion of the presentation. So if there are any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat, and I can address them at the end if we have some time. If not, just feel free to send me an email. My email is at the bottom here, Leandro Rebutoc at solidcad.ca, or you can contact your account rep. So having said that, let's begin. So the key benefits of ACC really for Plant 3D is data management and access. As you can see here, your typical Plant 3D project for a multi-user project requires two things. You will need a file server and a SQL server. So the file server here will host all your working files, like your drawing, your project setup, and your deliverables. And the SQL server will host all the data that's in your piping model or your P&IDs. So if you were to place a pipe in your 3D model, the component data would then be saved in the SQL server. And that applies as well with any drawing that requires any intelligence in the background. Now, if you don't have a SQL server, you can still run a Plant 3D project, but it will be a single user setup. So meaning if a user opens a 3D model, that database file is locked to that particular user, which means if user 5 or 6 wants to work on their own piping model in this project, they won't be able to save the data. And also for the setup, if you do have users working from an external office or working from home, they will need to VPN into the office to get the local network. As you know, sometimes VPN does cause a disconnect, and sometimes the performance gets, you get very poor performance depending on where you are. I do have a pop-up on the chat. I just want to check to make sure. Yes, we will share the recording. So what Plant 3D and ACC does is it removes the necessity for the file server and the SQL server, which means that everything you have gets stored in the cloud. So once we upload your Plant 3D project to ACC, users from your main office can just access their project from their desktop. And whether you're working from your home office in Ontario, or if you have a satellite office in the States, or even if you're traveling for work, you can access the same data set without requiring any replication of data from wherever you are. And also you have the ability to give your client a view or read-only access to some files without having to physically send them PDFs or the DWG files to view. They can just click on the file on the cloud and see any progress that you have. So having said that, we will go to the live portion of our demo. So the first thing you want to do is we are just going to set up an ACC project. So I am just going to click here. I'll end my slideshow. And that will take us to your ACC projects page. As you can see here, I'm just using Microsoft Edge to access the projects page. And you can see here, there's a list of 3 projects which has been assigned to my account specifically. So this is where you will see your project list that's been assigned to you. So the first thing you want to do, and again, this is for users with administration access to your BIM 360 or ACC projects account. So this has to be an administrator that has to do this. So to create a project, you just simply click on Create Project, and you have to put in your project name. So I'm just going to call this P3D _ ACC _ demo. And for the account type, I have to choose my company's account. For this, it'll be SolidCAD. And then it asks you to choose a project type. So for project type, this isn't, although it is a requirement, it is only a descriptor for the project. It doesn't change how the project functions. And this can be changed after by your administrator. So for this, I am just going to use demonstration project. And then the rest of the information, I'm just going to leave blank. Again, all this information can be filled in after in your project setup or settings. So I'm going to go ahead and create project. So once the project is created, it's going to take me to the members section. So here I am currently the only member in this project, and I am by default the project administrator. So in minimum, you will need Collaboration Pro to take advantage of the full functionality of Plant 3D with ACC. And also here, you'll notice at the bottom right, it gives me the modules or the products available to my account. So as a minimum, you will need docs. So this is the sort of the cloud storage. So once I've turned on the docs module, I'm just going to refresh my screen because it should show up here. So I'm just going to refresh my page. And now when I click on the pull down, you'll see that docs is available. When I go ahead and click on docs, it's going to take me to that cloud space. Still trying to set up. Refresh. It's the joy of working with a live demo. So I'm just going to switch projects real quick just to show you what it looks like. This is an older cloud demo that I used. So under docs, you'll notice here, because this already has a Plant 3D project, it's already here, but typically you'll just see a folder called For the Field and a folder called Project Files. Now I'm just going to go back to that project we just created. So hopefully that has been initialized. Oh, okay. So if this isn't going to initialize, I am just going to go to my other project. And I am just going to delete this. So if the previous project I just created was ready, this is what it would look like. So you'll have For the Field folder and a Project Files folder. This is the root folder for your project. So once we upload a Plant 3D project, it will be under this Project Files. Now, to upload a Plant 3D project, we don't do anything here. ACC is what you would call an invisible product for Plant 3D, meaning that everything is going to be controlled from Plant 3D. The user will not even notice that the cloud exists. They would just work as normal. The only difference is now there will be a check-in and check-out process for your files. So let me go ahead and I'm just going to open a demo project. And in this demo project, I have just 4 basic P&IDs and 3 3D models. So for equipment, piping, and structure. And in order to upload this to the cloud, I'm going to go ahead and go to my Collaborate tab. And from here, I'm just going to click on Share Project. Once it gives you the prompt, you can just go ahead and click on Get Started. And right now, it's going to look for the Plant 3D projects, or sorry, the ACC projects that are assigned to me. So right now, under SolidCAD, there's the P3D Cloud demo, which is this project. It seems that the other project is still trying to initialize. So we're just going to use this cloud space. So I'm going to click on P3D Cloud Demo, and I'm going to hit Upload Project. Now, this usually takes less than 5 minutes, depending on how many files you have on your Plant 3D project. So we'll just wait. While we do that, I'm just going to see if the other project did get created. Okay, the connection's a little bit slow on the other project, so we're just going to stick with this existing cloud space. So right now it's just uploading all the files in that project up to the cloud. Again, this is what you would call an invisible product for Plant 3D users. There really is no requirement for them to go to the cloud space to view files. Everything they need will be done from within Plant 3D. All right, should be ready. So right now it's just creating the database server on the cloud. You don't have to try and point it to a SQL server manually. This is all using the cloud computation to create your database. So now, this is where you can invite team members if you want to your project, but I'm just going to hit close. As now you can see here on the left on my project manager, you'll notice that there is a new icon beside my project. As I go to my pull down, you'll see that project demo test still exists. So the existing project still exists. So all it did is it made a copy for the cloud version. So moving forward, make sure that you are in your, that you have the icon if you want to work on the cloud version. Now I'm just going to show you what it looks like on the cloud. So again, this is the project files, and then here is a project demo test. So I'm just going to click on the pull down. As if you've worked with Plant 3D before, you will see that this is a very familiar folder structure. Again, this is where our Plant 3D models are, our P&IDs, our orthos, and our isometrics, and our settings files. So I'm just going to go into the Plant 3D models to show you what it looks like. As you can see, the structures is still trying to sync, but I'm just going to click on the piping drawing. So here, initially, as soon as I click on that, it's going to give me a 2D view. But because this is a 3D model, on the left-hand side, you can click on 3D and view the file in the 3D mode, just like if you were in a modeler view in Navisworks. So anybody who opens it from the cloud can view this as long as they have the proper permissions. They can see the properties of the specific pipe right here, just like you'd see in Plant 3D. And one good thing is from the cloud, nobody can modify this file. Everything must be done in Plant 3D. So the first thing we want to do is I'm just going to show you how that's done. So here, I'm just going to go to Plant 3D. And the new process is if I was to go to my Plant 3D drawings and piping, I'm just going to right click and you'll see that there are new options. So now there is a checkout option. But first, I'm just going to click on the options button here to show you what's available. So the check-in, checkout process is how you can tell the cloud that you want to work on that file. So for this, for my checkout process, I'm just going to click on open and the file will get checked out automatically. And I will check in the drawing when I close the drawing, or I can right click and do a check-in. So here, I'm just going to open my piping drawing. I'm just going to hit open. And right now, the file is checked out to me. You can see that there is a lock. And you can see on the information here at the bottom that the file is now locked by me on my machine with a timestamp. So right now, no one else can check out this file because this is checked out specifically to me. So let's make a quick modification. So I'm just going to reference in my equipment and my structure just to give it a better view. So I'm just going to make a simple modification. Let's say I need to add a gate valve here. So again, just like in Plant 3D, you would choose your spec. I believe this is a CS300. 6-inch line, and I'm just going to choose gate valve from my tool palette, flanged, and I'm just going to put it in the middle here. And let's just do that. So let's say you've made a change to your model. Now you want to share it back to the project. I typically just like to hit save, and then I can just right click and then check it back in. And in here, it'll give you the information if you want to put comments. Now, these comments are just for Plant 3D specific. I'm just going to hit OK. And now it's going to go back to the check-in process. Now it's going to check it back into the cloud project. I'm just going to wait and do a refresh. So back on my cloud, you'll notice that my piping is synchronizing, and that you'll notice that now it is called V2. So if I were to click on this button, it's going to give me the old version and the new version of the file. So every time I make a check-in, it's going to give me the next revision of the file. The nice thing about this is if you have two versions, you can just click here at the bottom. So just click on V2, click on compare versions, and you can actually do a comparison of the two versions right here. So I want to compare the 3D views on both. And here it's going to tell me what's been added. Nothing's been removed and what's been modified. So if I was just to click on added, it's just going to remove the items that's been added. Nothing was removed, and I've turned off what has been modified. So here you can do a comparison. The existing is grayed out, and everything new, we added the X-rafts and we added the valve is now in green. Let's do something similar, but let's do it for a basic P&ID drawing. So I'm just going to open PNID 001, and we're going to do something similar of just adding a gate valve to a line. I'm just going to switch to my PNID tool palette. And let's say I want to add a valve to this 8-inch line. So again, I'm just going to add a gate valve. So there, I'm just going to call this 999, just to give me a different tag number. Oops. And then I'm just gonna, let's say, add a ball valve here. I'll just call that 888. Okay, so we've added two valves, 999 and 888. I'm just gonna hit save. And then I'm going to check in my drawing. You have the options of adding a comment if you want. I'm just gonna leave it blank for now. Now with the comparison tools in the cloud, you can compare 2D and 3D drawings, but with 2D drawings, it's best for PNID drawings. With orthometrics and isometrics, because the view does change, moves a little bit, your comparison tool might not work as well. So again, here in PNID 001, we have two versions. You can access the comparison tool here, or if you just click on the drawing, you can access the comparison tool up here as well. So I'm just going to hit compare. As you can see, this is the change that we added to our PNID. I'm just going to hit compare our 2D views. And now it's going to tell me that anything in red is version 2, anything in blue is version 1. And also you have the option to do an overlay compare. So what you can do, it's going to give you a slider. So you can just left to right or right to left, and you can see the difference between the PNID drawings. Now this works best if the drawing is static. So you're not moving a lot of things. So like I said before, like if you rerun an isometric and try to compare the two, the lines will move in isometric or even in your orthographic drawing. So just be aware of that. So now that we've added something to our PNID, some of the review tools available to you here, as you can see on the right, you do have your markups. So if you wanted to cloud some things and even add some comments, you can say change tag to 777, and then you can make that change and publish it. And now what's going to happen is this PNID will now have a markup indicator here that, hey, this drawing has a markup. Now, if you wanted to assign something to a specific user, let's say they needed an expansion loop somewhere, let's say around here, you can actually assign an issue type. So let's say it's a design issue. We can put it here and now edit. You can actually assign this to a specific user, but because I'm the only user in this project, I'll assign it to myself, and description will just say expansion loop. So once I do that and close, I can go back to my cloud, and here under the issues list, so the user will get an email saying that this issue has been assigned to them, but I can also go to my issues list, and it's going to tell me what issues have been, what are pending in the project, and who's it assigned to. So again, I can just If I did make that change, I can just go back into that PNID, and then I would just click on the issue, and I can just change the status to pending review or closed. Here, I can also delete the issue if I wanted to. So pretty much the things I did here are cloud-based. So any markup that I did on the cloud does not affect anything in Plant 3D. You will not see the markup in Plant 3D. So any sketches, any red marks, any comments that were added on the cloud does not affect what your content is in Plant 3D. So again, like I said before, ACC is it's a data management and access tool that is going to be invisible to your users other than having to do the check-in and check-out process. It is just work as usual for your Plant 3D users. They will model just like they would previously and create drawings. Nothing changes in their workflow other than checking in and checking out. The only added benefit now is that you have revision control here. You can have any user in the world can access the project. So you can have multiple users working in the project now. So if I had 4 piping models, you can have 4 piping designers work on the project. So again, ACC is more of a collaboration tool where you can share information, progress, comments. It does not affect Plant 3D directly. And again, everything must be done in Plant 3D. If you were to create a brand new drawing, let's say I do want to create piping 02, I would create it here and not create it in the cloud. Everything must be controlled from Plant 3D. As you can see here, now is piping 02. Even though it's in Plant 3D, it's not in the project yet. So what you want to do, again, is check it in, and we'll just call this initial upload. So while that's doing that, I'm just going to check the chat. And see if I have a few questions. The first question is from Paul Bowers. Hi, Paul. I believe you were my colleague at Worley Parsons, the AGT building. Nice to see you. Yes, I am in Alberta. There's a question, we don't use the folders in the project to store our files. Will it bring the drawings from other folders? If the files are not, if let's say you're just referencing in like an XREF from another folder, it won't bring in that reference file. You would have to, let's say, just create maybe an XREF folder for the project and bring it into here. But any external folders that isn't registered within Plant 3D will not be copied to the cloud. How many can work on that field at the same time? So just like in Plant 3D, if that file is locked to somebody, only one person can work on that file. Other users can XREF the file, but if it is locked to that user, only that user can work on that file. How can you add an asset if they do not appear on the PNID? Now, is that for the question, how can you add an asset if they do not appear in the PNID? Is that for the custom symbols? I need to, if you could clarify that question for me, that would be great. What is the main differences with BIM 360? I would have to see what the new features for ACC is with BIM 360. Right now, they do function very similarly with Plant 3D. As far as Plant 3D goes, there's not a lot of differences. But as far as the entire collaboration suite between ACC and BIM 360, I'm not 100% sure what additional features have been added for Construction Cloud. So Mark, I will find out that information and get that back to you. Checkout, we'll do an automatic checkout. So here's a good question here. If the user opens a drawing without doing a checkout, will it do an automatic checkout? If they decide to open a file and their settings isn't to do an automatic checkout, the file will not be checked out automatically. So that's something you have to be careful. If you have it set to just open, it's as though you're opening a read-only file. You might be able to save a copy locally, but it's not going to check it into the project for you or check it out automatically for you. If the user closes a drawing without doing a check-in, will it check in automatically? Unfortunately, it won't. But if, let's say, I do have an option here to do it manually, it does save a local copy on your machine. So that's something you have to kind of figure out on your workflow to make sure that these settings have been set, because there can be a room for error. Nothing is completely locked down. It is not foolproof. So you have to make sure that these settings are saved. You can even do it so every time a user saves the drawing, it does a check-in automatically. Your administrator, because if you have the connection Autodesk connector, desktop connector, it does give you a local version on your machine of the files. Oops, I haven't synchronized it. It does, if this was synchronized right now, it would give me the project on this Autodesk docs folder, just like your OneDrive. So again, this is something that you would have to work with your administrator to kind of do the workflow. But to answer your question, because it is not foolproof, there is a way that a user might be able to check out or miss the checkout or miss the check-in. So what are the other benefits of using ACC Cloud? What I showed you right now, when I clicked on members here, is again, for Plant 3D, the docs will be the most important part for Plant 3D. So if there are other options here, which I won't really get into. There's design collaboration and model collaboration. So let's say if you're in a project that has Revit or Civil 3D, the design collaboration can give you a schedule of when files are published. You can collaborate with other applications and programs, and even with model coordination that acts as your cloud version of Navisworks. It can even do a clash detection for you between your different applications and models. And then there's other kind of administrative tools like Takeoff and Build, cost management, which is more project management based, not really a design tool. So ACC has a lot of functionality, but with Plant 3D, we're just going to be using docs and the tools that you see here with like reports and issues. and even creating a review process for drawings. It gives you a virtual collaboration space rather than using, printing your PDFs and just sharing it during OneDrive or physical copies. So this option is available for you as a benefit. Also, other than being a file management and data management and giving access to pretty much anybody with an Autodesk account, those are the main benefits of Plant 3D. Is there a drawback? Yeah, there can be if you don't have a developed workflow, like users can do a false check-in or a checkout. So like, for example, if I do check out this drawing automatically or by accident, there is a fail-safe where you can undo a checkout. So it's not going to save a revision to put it back into the project. Also, if you have a very poor internet connection, Autodesk does create a cache locally, so it makes it work faster. But if you do have a very slow internet connection, you might have an issue accessing the project initially. But other than that, there's not a lot of drawbacks of using BIM 360. So for an existing, well, the file is locked before check back in, can others you see the changes? The answer is no. No one can see the change you made until you've checked in a file. So what people are looking at the cloud until this becomes V3, even though you've already made changes to your piping model locally, until you check in, it's not going to change versions. So you're always going to be in version 2 on the cloud. So you'll have to check it in for them to see your changes. Is the master, since the PND is the master looking at a valve, if does not appear on the PNID. I will get back to that question. Stefano, do you mind if we take this conversation off like after, just so I can get a better understanding and then I can share that answer with the group? How do we upload or update specs? For specs, my suggestion would be to you can work from specs here. It does give you the check-in and check-out process. So you can work on it that way, or you can work on it offline and then upload the spec to the project. ACC is not going to replace Vault. It is an alternative to Vault. So you do have the option. If you do work in Vault, it does not speak with ACC. So they are two very separate tools. I'll just answer a few more here because we are past our time. And then I will try and email out the answers for the other questions. Actually, there's only 2 more questions. Will file access speed be the same regardless of where you are in the world? Good question. When you first access the project and you start working, there is going to be a collaboration cache. So even when you start working on the file, this gives you a temporary working location. So as soon as you do a checkout, it is now local to you. So how you work on that file will be as if you are working locally on your file. So that's a good question. The speed, the internet connection will only affect the initial access to the project. But once you have a file locally, here, so I have a piping drawing local to my computer. It does give you a local version, so you're not talking to the cloud until you check in the file. When a spec is updated, will all users see the update seamlessly? When a spec is updated, actually, it is not going to be seamless. They might have to kind of open and close or try and refresh from the project or check for spec updates just to see if there is a file change. Because remember, some of these do get downloaded locally, so they have to make sure that their local copy has been synced. Last question will be, so for Navisworks collaboration models, we should use BIM 360 or ACC. Either one works. I believe ACC, I know, has support for Navisworks files. You can view Navisworks files directly on ACC without having to download the file. But then again, for that process, it's not going to be done through Plant 3D. You would create a subfolder called, we'll just call it Navisworks. And then you would upload your either NWD files here or NWC, NWF. And really, they won't even need Navisworks to open the file. You can open the file directly from here. I wish I had a file I could show you, but I don't at the moment. So yeah, again, so that's pretty much it with Plant 3D and ACC. Oh, there was a question, is it safe to push project made with 2017 to ACC? Right now, ACC works best with 2021 and 2022. So you would have to upgrade the 2017 project to 2021 and then upload that to ACC. You can't upload a 2017 file directly to ACC. Okay, so again, if you have any questions, you can send me an email directly to my email address. Let me just send it here. So again, here at the bottom, it's just Leandro Rebutoc at solidcad.ca. Or if you have any Plant 3D specific in general, I would love to hear from you and discuss any workflows or options or questions that you have. Definitely feel free to get in touch with me. And again, so thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good day, everyone. Thanks, and bye.